Hey, it's Mike Andes, and today we're doing in-person consulting with one of the locations at Augusta Lawn Care. They've scaled very quickly. They went from like 200 to 400 to 800,000 in annual revenue this year. There's 3 partners involved, they're all family, and they don't really have any sort of equity split. In the future, as the business hits profit mode, it's gonna be very important. If you have a partner, if you haven't figured out your LLC and how the breakup of equity is going to work and how distributable cash is going to happen, this one's gonna be a must listen for you. Here we go. Marco, all right, recap on Marco. 1 second, my chin, okay. Mowing, cleanups, and mulch, 4 trucks, 6 employees. 2023 was 50,000, 2024 was 400,000. This year expected is 550 to 600,000. Marketing channels, website, and Google listing. Peak season budget was $8,000 to $10,000 for door hanger labor and $3,000 in door hanger material costs, about 13 grand. Close ratio is about 50% for the last 90 days, 676 leads. Owner salary, no salary at the moment, just pull out $4,000 per month for rent. For 2025's P&L, it says you have $85,000 in net, so for the owner in the past 12 months. What is the current obstacle in growth or profitability? Seasonal mowing cancels due to drought and price increases. Okay, cool. The $4,000 per month, is that for you only, or is that blended across you, or are we having employees and owner situation? Give me that breakdown.
It would be more for like, so we all live in the same home.
Okay.
And we need to pay the bills that we have.
Okay, and does anyone get a W-2?
No.
Got it. And what's the equity split between everyone?
We haven't figured that out yet.
Okay.
I think all of our names are on the IRS and the
LLC?
business, yeah.
Okay, so all of your names are on the LLC, and you haven't split stock in that. So there's no like, I get 10%, you get 20, none of that.
Yeah.
Okay. I see that as a huge constraint because the very best case scenario is that this business blows up, and it's also the very worst thing that could happen for your relationship. So I'll get really clear now what that divide is going to be in terms of equity. Because right now, no one cares because there's no distributable cash. It's been growing super fast. When there's a bunch of money floating around, all of a sudden we need to have clarity in terms of who owns what and what's the percentage look like and how do distributions work. Right, so I'm gonna, like in the 401 framework, I'll go right to leadership here. And that is like, we need clarity on equity and then distributions. So so in a couple of years, when we have $200,000 of money sitting in the bank account, what do we do with it? Right? And right now, like you have 85,000 in the bank, that's more than what you need in terms of working capital. And so this is already gonna start becoming a problem, not a problem, but like it is, great, you're profitable, let's go. But like it's more a function of, we need clarity on how that money gets divided.
Okay. Yeah, because I didn't understand the distributions part.
Mm-hmm.
We have more in the bank, but in the P&L it said that, like for this year.
Okay, how much do you have in the bank?
1/3.
Cool, so you're already at the point where the business needs to distribute free cash flow. Like the business exists to make money, but the whole reason you have the business is for it to give you money. Like it needs to go into your account, right? Into your accounts. And so right now, so far, because the business has been growing, there's not been a lot of cash. It's becoming more profitable. And I anticipate this to continue. And so I would get really clear at how do we cut distributions when we have a certain amount of money in the bank account. So you can do it really simply, just say, hey, like how much working capital do you think the business needs?
For what?
Just like if there was any less than $20,000 in the bank, would you kind of be freaking out?
Yeah.
Okay, 60,000. Getting a little squeaky.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right around 1 month of revenue, right? So if I was you, I would use the model of 1 month worth of revenue. Anything over that at the end of each quarter, that's distributable cash. And so let's say that's 60,000. Well, there's 130. Great, $90,000 should be going into the owner's checking account right now. We need to have a very clear system in terms of what percentage of that 60,000 goes into his account, your account, your account, right? And that's going to usually be determined by equity splits. Usually owners' distributions get split based upon equity split. Now you could change that if you wanted. So for example, if you're like, hey, I want more equity, I want 50%, everyone else gets a cut of the other 50%. But for distributions, we can change it. 25, 25, 25, or however. Is this the 3 parties involved? How many are there?
Yeah, so currently my brother is like kind of, I guess I'm training
Okay.
And we
Is he getting a W-2 right now?
no.
Okay.
It's more like because he's a barber.
Yep.
I guess full time. Right?
Yeah, he gave me training. I remember. Yep.
And right now, I guess I'm handling operations and sales.
Right.
And he's kind of tagging along, learning. My dad, we got him out of the field, so because my main goal was to get him out so he's getting older.
Yep.
Right now, he's mainly focusing on like equipment maintenance, making sure everything's in shape. But yeah, that's the whole structure.
Cool. So I won't do this live. Don't worry. You got to get clear on who owns what piece of business, right? Because again, if we're thinking about being good stewards, like if one of you get hit by a bus tomorrow, we have a really, really big problem. And it's not like the risk of one person getting hit. It's any of the four of you getting hit by a bus means big problems for the business. And so I would get very, very clear. It's like, is it 25, 25, 25? Like, is that the split you think you want? Who's put the most money in? No, if your dad started and did it for 10 years before you came along, he should probably get more equity because he did the foundation part, but maybe not if it was only at 50,000. So it just needs to be a conversation. Like, has these conversations already bubbled up or not really?
No, because I guess for us, we haven't really thought about it. It was just more of grow and
Great. Like the thing is this, you have grown. Good. Now we're going to start making a lot of money. And whether that be this year or next year, it's probably be like 2027, in my opinion. Because like this year was a foundational, like systematize things, get the roots down. You're going to probably grow again next year. You're probably earn $1 million, and you're probably going to start seeing $200,000 to $300,000 in the bank. And that money is going to be taxed a lot. We need to have like, where does this money go? Because you're going to switch to an S corp, and once you switch to an S corp, all of that money is going to get taxed, and someone's got to put it on their tax return.
Yeah.
We need clear division of like who's paying the taxes here, right? Because like you haven't even worried about that, and that's why you're still an LLC. Because like we just been plowing money back into this and growing. Great, you did that. Now we need to think about what happens when the business has free cash flow, and how do we make sure we're good stewards of that?
Yeah, because our plan was to keep it going, like dumping it multiple locations. So we're not really worried about who gets more or yeah, it's more about we're dumping for the next 10, 15 years until we can.
Great. So then it'd just be a matter of defining, first off, equity, and secondly, what happens with the free cash flow. Free cash flow can be put into R&D or investments. So you can say, okay, anything above 60,000 is on the table for the next location. Once we hit $100,000 in distributable cash, we've all agreed that that money goes towards location 2. Boom. And then once we have, again, another $100,000, another location. So that's how you create a system for it instead of it just being like, right? And kind of like, we kind of just, when we feel like it, we go to another location. We should have a process for it.
Okay.
So my personal recommendation is first and foremost, determine equity splits. That's a hard conversation. I think it needs to be had.
Yeah.
And just everyone needs to feel good about it, but everyone should feel a little bit of pain as well. Like based on what you think, Mark, do you think it's gonna be 25 split across the board?
Yeah, we'll probably go for it because we just have that like dynamic as a Hispanic household.
Everyone's contributing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like, yeah, we would just do 20.
Cool.
Evenly do it.
So first off, great. That makes it really easy. Make sure it's in writing. So in your annual report, when you file for your next LLC, it's in there. Like equity for so-and-so, equity for so-and-so, equity. And then you need to know what happens when so-and-so wants to bounce. Because right now you have 4 degrees of error, which is 4 owners. The likelihood of all 4 of you still working together in 10 years is nigh to 0. Because someone gets married, someone moves away, someone has a life event, someone gets sick, etc.
Yeah.
And so we need to have a clear, like, what happens when someone wants to bounce from this business? What I would recommend is some sort of valuation mechanism. So for example, we will go based on last year's free distributable cash. We will have a multiple of 3, for example. That'll be the valuation of the business. Then we can actually say your equity is worth $75,000. And then if you want out, you're gonna have to take a 30% haircut, and then we will contribute to buying out the remainder, right? That way it's just really clean. I don't want one thing happening to anybody and then all of a sudden the business is in turmoil, right? And again, right now this is not a problem, but it will be once you're much larger, you have general managers in place, you have lots of cash coming in, you need clarity on what the equity split is, and then how distributions are going to be handled, right? That's like not an easy, like, let's pick this now. This is like a conversation of like, what's the equity split going to be? What do we do with money that is considered distributable cash? What do we define distributable cash as, which I would recommend as 1 month of revenue. Anything above that we consider distributable. Does that get split to people? What happens if one of us is like, we want to move out? That needs to all be defined.
Okay.
I would talk to ChatGPT and it'll walk you through all the different scenarios, tell it to give you questions, and I'd make it all in writing, and I'd put it in my annual report.
Okay. And then since we do plan to start multiple locations, we know we'll need general managers and things like that. And since it's 3 of us, I guess we have an advantage. But one thing is, I don't want my dad to like get into anything like really physical or since he doesn't speak English very well.
Seems really good to me.
Yeah, well, for sales, I guess, and handling all of operations.
Got it. I got you. Yeah.
Technical stuff. So I don't feel like we would be able to put him as a general manager role.
Okay. So what would his role be is the question?
Yeah, that's like what I was thinking in my head is maybe like equipment maintenance for the locations that we create.
Mm-hmm.
He likes to do that.
Okay. Then I would just make it where he's the person that all of your general managers know if anything breaks, he's gonna have a list. So for example, I'd probably have like a shared Trello board where it's things that are like broken, things that are getting worked on, and things that are fixed. And then all the general managers know when something breaks, that just simply goes on the Trello board. He sees that. He knows where the locations are all at. He gets to figure out his own schedule. He gets parts, the whole 9 yards. He could also be a delivery / transport person.
Yeah.
Right? So I think you could really bake that in really well.
Okay. And then Jose, we were thinking of, because he recently just started seeing like me watching on YouTube, going to these events, and since he's a full-time barber, he makes decent money doing it like a couple days of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trying to figure out like what he could do to help us get multiple locations and continue to grow.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what I was thinking is maybe having him as a regional, and so we have multiple locations, and maybe not be full-time in 3 days a week, and as GM to get trained. But that's what we're still looking, because Monday through Wednesday is when he has his off days,
Mhm.
and then the rest he cuts hair. As well as with the money he's making cutting hair, he mentioned that he is willing to help fund locations as well.
Okay. I would personally, first off, you're getting ahead of yourself because you don't have multiple locations
Yeah.
yet. You already know your second location is going to be probably Jose GM or you GM.
Well, I was thinking I started.
I agree.
The sales.
Sales, yes. And then he would run the current location.
Possibly, and then like maybe 3 days a week, and we look for someone out of the team.
Yeah, I agree.
If you
Yeah.
have someone in mind,
I would do that.
gradually train them up, and he kind of helps.
That's what I would do.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have you coming to start, getting it past 500,000 annual revenue. You throw everything into profit mode and hand it off to him. And his goal within 24 months is to find the next person to come behind him. And then that will make a really smooth, because by the time they get it, it's 700,000 to 800,000. It's profitable. It's simplified services. It's dialed in. You're good to go.
Okay, and you feel like it's possible with him only like being in the business 3 days a week, like Monday through Wednesday.
No, not as a general manager. General manager needs to be there first and leave last.
Okay.
So it just needs to be, again, the reason why Jose doesn't want to leave is because right now he gets a paycheck from his hair cutting business. That's why we need clarity on how much money does he make when he goes full time.
Yeah.
Like, what's that distributable cash look like? What is everyone making? And like, right now it's just like, we all work here and we get the rent paid. It needs to be, we all work here and we all get 25% of distributions at the end of each month. And last month that was three grand. Right? Like, we need more clarity so that he has confidence to do it. And then he cuts hair on the side for fun.
Okay. Yeah, because the reason we were thinking maybe what if he went full time and was the general manager, and it feels like we would make less and have less funds, because he with it he's around like 12,000 a month for barbering.
Yep.
And
You make 12 grand a month barbering?
yeah.
Dude, let's go. Crushing it, man. Let's go. That's not easy on 2 days a week.
Yeah, and what we thought is, hey, he's making a lot of money there, and we can just have a general manager, right? And they make some money for us, and he's.
Yep. So right now, are you working in the field like 2-3 days a week?
No, we're all out of the field. It's
Okay.
Because he's shadowing as I go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion, if you're making $12,000 a month cutting hair for 3 days a week,
4 days.
Okay, so it's almost full time. Okay. You could replace a general manager for less than he's making. So I think you take your current team and you find your replacement once you move out. Have them be the GM. You need your general manager being there full time.
Okay.
I've yet to see a general manager situation work out when they're not there full time. Yeah. And if he's like, hey, I'm willing to take a little bit of a haircut, but I know that in 2 or 3 years, since we have multiple locations and I have a piece of this business that I get distributions from, now I'm happy.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess we would go through the hurdle of finding that general manager and training them up.
Mhm.
But we would have a lot more capital because if we combine his capital that he has and
Yep.
we have it's like 200 grand.
Yep.
So I guess maybe we can use that.
Yeah, I think it's easier to find an operationally led GM that after you throw this location into profit mode, you hand it off to someone that's been with you. They know the systems, they know P4P, you hand this thing off, they can run it, you move on to the next one. And if you make this big enough, eventually $12,000 a month isn't so good and he'll hop on full time.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Off seasons, or not off season, revenue dropping during the winter or the summer, during the drought.
Not so much the revenue, it's just the
Work.
actual mowing cancels.
Yep.
So we went from 280 to 220, similar to the Bellingham location.
Yep.
And I guess if it's normal, then
I think it's a feature, not a bug, of our market, like in here in Washington. So I think it's a matter of just scheduling your projects correctly. So, Corey just knows, like during spring rush, you don't schedule projects, but right now is the time to just like cash into the projects.
And that's what we did, Mike.
Yeah.
We did only mowing Monday through Thursday. Fridays were just projects.
Mhm.
And yeah, we accumulated the recurring clients. But now what we did see is we went to profit mode, turned off, or we haven't had, the only marketing we did this year was door hangers.
Yep.
We didn't pay for any ads. But since we're now going into the drought season, the project leads aren't coming in
Yep.
to fill up the schedule. And I hear you mention like, hey, turn off ads, don't market when you're in profit mode.
Mhm.
But what I'm feeling is, what if we turn off ads, put them on to keep the projects coming in?
Yeah, your customer acquisition cost this time of year is still decent. It's not as good as like during spring rush, but like I'm okay with it because what you're backfilling is the capacity. So if you're at 70% capacity right now, anything between here and where you're like 50% profitable on it. Because you already have the trucks, you already have the equipment, you already have the team, you already have the shop space, like all your fixed expenses are the same.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm okay with you spending a higher customer acquisition cost to fill to capacity.
Yeah, because we can definitely fill up more like seats in the truck.
Yep. So I would download your CSV file from Copilot of all your customers. I would put a lookalike audience inside of Facebook, and I'd retarget 5-mile radius around your shop. And I'd go after projects. Be like, hey, summertime is almost over, and that's what I'm going after.
Cool. So you would obviously combine that with targeting our current customers.
Upselling them.
Doing inspections in person.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like the lowest hanging fruit. I knew you were kind of doing that already. So I jumped to the next one, which is do a retargeting using your CSV as a lookalike audience in Facebook and really pitch hard against projects.
Okay.
And then change on your website. You have a banner right now that says accepting mowing customers. Switch that to summer projects.
Okay. Okay. I got that.
Yep.
Cool.
Cool.
I think that should be. I guess, do you see anything that you would give advice on or change?
Biggest thing, you guys got to figure out your equity.
Okay.
Right? It's not a problem until it's a problem. And when it becomes a problem and you don't have it clearly defined, we have big problems. So I get really clear about who owns what happens with free cash flow above 1 month worth of revenue. Do it get split up? I would probably, if I was you, this is what I would do. I would say, let's just for a second say it's 33, 33, 33. If that's what you're doing, I would say anything above 1 month of revenue in the bank is considered distributable cash. We are setting aside half of that towards future location. Once we get X amount of dollars set aside, we start said location. But the other half, I would distribute that across the board. 33%, 33%, 33%. So off of 90 grand, 45 grand is gonna be set aside for next location. Once that hits 100, we know we start a second location. But for now, the other 45 grand is gonna get distributed 15, 15, 15. And if you do that more often enough, he's gonna be like, forget this haircutting thing. I can make more money doing this thing. And you're building equity in his own thing, right? So that'd be my suggestion.
Okay. And what do you? So we would. What should we do? Because we don't have any of us on payroll or anything, and we are.
Who's doing your taxes? Is Brad doing it?
He's going to do it. We just haven't booked the call.
Okay.
Because
I highly recommend it. It's like the cheapest with, I guess. Yes. So I would book a call with him in December. You guys need to run one payroll before the end of the year to be an S corp.
Okay.
So you need to run payroll. Like, it's $200. Doesn't matter. You got to have a W-2 for 2025 in order to be an S corp.
Okay, for us, and what would you recommend we pay ourselves? Because it's 3 of us.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, just something.
Just low. Yeah, something. Yeah, you just need to have a W-2 in 2025 so you can be an S corp and say that you guys are owners. But like the first thing he's gonna ask is like, so what's the split of equity? So I would really recommend getting that nailed down.